We have an educational one. So please welcome to the stage Stimuli, and we have Taylor Shu.
I'm Taylor Shedd, the founder of Stimuli. At Stimuli, we believe every learner deserves a highly engaging and deeply personalized learning experience, an experience that can and should last an entire lifetime. When you think about the applications that you depend on a daily basis, you typically think Netflix, Uber, WhatsApp, and Google Maps. Well, I want you to think Stimuli. We're on a mission to leverage AI and video games in order to educate the world and change the future. The problems that keep us up at night are the fact that there are over 250 million kids worldwide who are not enrolled in school. In America alone, 25% of our 8th graders are proficient in math, and only 18% of what they're learning is aligned to workforce needs. We have a global unemployment crisis that is largely caused by our failing education systems that has led to 435 million people being unemployed. These problems persist because society has accepted the status quo. Take, for instance, these existing platforms. They educate millions of students annually and they earn billions of dollars doing so. And I say they jokingly look older than MySpace. They're not personalized, they're not aligned to careers, and they're certainly not engaging. On the bright side, some of them have partnered with us at Stimuli in order to change this. Stimuli is a platform that transforms learning into a video game. We ingest third-party content and align it with career pathways in order to generate personalized career pathways and immersive learning experiences. I want you to imagine for a second that all of us are learning about volume of the cylinder. But this time we're not learning it because we have to, we're learning it because we understand exactly how it applies to our career interest, whether you want to be a plastic surgeon or an astronaut. Stimuli is doing something that teachers alone cannot. We're using AI to personalize learning for every student on the planet. Let's talk about how our AI works. First, we understand kids' interests and career goals, and then we analyze the curriculum content they're supposed to learn next, and in real time, we generate immersive, personalized learning experiences that are tailored just to them. This is the future of AI, education, and video games. When you think about the impact that Stimuli has made, we've enabled thousands of low-income students to graduate high school earning $70,000 a year. 93% of the kids on our platform are reaching mastery in math, compared to 25% of our national average. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation loves our work so much that they have agreed to invest $1 million in seeing us accelerate our AI roadmap and scale our impact globally. Now, how are we going to reach every kid on the planet? Our plan to scale is by partnering with the largest content publishers in the world and bringing their content and learners onto our platform. We also collaborate with governments in order to assure regional alignments with workforce needs. Let's say, for instance, in Texas, where we're partnered with the largest tech hub in the country, training hundreds of thousands of people for the semiconductor industry. We will know we're successful at Stimuli when we've increased the quality of education and made it more accessible while reducing the cost by over 99%. Together, we can change these problems. And when we do, we will equip the next generation to understand the SDGs that they care about most and how to solve them. There are 3.3 billion gamers worldwide, and Stimuli is on a pathway to change those gamers into change makers, and change makers into wealth creators. So join us as we use AI for good to create a more sustainable future for us all.
Okay, now we'll have questions from our judges.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I'm familiar with the Gates Foundation and some of the investors, and they're very picky, and they do a lot of due diligence, so that's a good sign. but you have to be sustainable. So what's your revenue prediction, your ARR, what is it, revenue, what's your forecast, and what do you think you can break even, that kind of thing? Otherwise, you won't survive.
Sure. So we earn $2 million on an annual reoccurring basis. We just signed an agreement that will have us scale to over 200,000 learners in the next 12 months. That's 5 million ARR at minimum. And then the next year we'll scale to 2 million learners. So when you think about that from a revenue perspective, we go from 2 million to a minimum 5 million to 10 million the following year. And in that year, we're scheduled for a global launch, which then our revenue could be astronomical at that point.
What is your global strategy? Which regions are you addressing next?
That's a hard question because when I travel the world and I drive through low-income areas, I think about what if an app like this was sitting in every small village and home. But I do deeply care about Latin America. I care about Africa, and the rest of the world can come online next.
Are there any problems? I mean, I presume I need a smartphone at least, or do I need a laptop?
Sure. So
activity. So especially in Africa and the remote areas,
yeah.
Will that be feasible?
Yes. So we developed our platform on the Unity engine, which gives us the ability to publish to all platforms. So first and foremost, it can publish to all platforms. It's available on a web-based device. And to your point about if there's not internet access in an area, we do have offline mode. And so we'll get to an offline mode where we could, in our developers' dream world, we'd be working with Starlink to push packets to people that would download on the phones and that would update over time. And the second thing to know about our technology is AI is undergirding all of it. The video game is just how that technology expresses itself. So with the AI underneath, you can deliver the same personalized learning experience that doesn't necessarily show up in a video game with the same exact models that we built on the back end.
Just I want to know you need a content for education. So
Yes.
I just want to know who creates content, yourself, AI, or your partner?
That's an amazing question. Our partners create the context. So essentially, we have AI that can ingest curriculum from any curriculum partner as well as ingest live labor market data. And so we essentially can go into any region and ingest their content by the school system. And then the AI can also ingest the labor market data in order to create personalized career pathways that are relevant for kids in that region.
At this moment, how many content do you have?
That's a great question. So we have all K-12 content, and in America, K-12 is anywhere from the age of 5 to 18 years old. And so we have it across math, science, and English language arts, all of the core subjects. And the way that we will scale that is not by just using the content that we have, but by working with partners that are publishing content in all different forms with all different people and bringing their content in and aligning it across the standards.
Okay, my question is security. How are you keeping the kids safe?
That's a phenomenal question. So for those of you that don't work in the education space, for years we've been governed by something called FERPA and COPA. We're not allowed to publish education records of students, and for children under 13, you need parental consent and a lot of other consents in order to work with them. So it's in our DNA to protect and secure our kids. But now we're talking about AI and generation in real time. And so you should know that kids are never interacting directly with our large language models. And so we have our designers that are interacting directly with our large language models. And in real time, as our models generate immersive quest, there are several filters that are filtering out to make sure it's accurate from a career pathways perspective, that content is, age level appropriate. There's a lot of different filters that can be added on, and that's actually a lot of the work we're doing with the Gates Foundation is ensuring that all those measures are in place.
Okay, so there's not like other gaming platforms where you're interacting, so they're not actually directly interacting with other live people.
They're only interacting with the kids that are enrolled in their school. It's completely protected to the kids enrolled in their school. So if you think about it, at work, everybody logs in with their email address and password. Students will use the same thing that they log into their education systems in order to get into our world.
Okay, I've got one more question. You said that you're designing the content depending on the career wishes of the kids. Now, I have nieces and nephews in the last years before graduating high school, and they have no clue what career path they want to pursue. How do you get them?
That's a phenomenal question. So I'll answer it in two ways. The first thing is the reason they have no clue is because of that problem I mentioned where only 18% of curriculum is aligned to workforce needs. So we are simply not exposing kids in middle school and elementary school to the jobs that are possible. In our case, what we do is we understand their interests. So for me, I love to play basketball, and I had no idea that I could work for Nike as a product manager in technology. And so within the first 5 minutes of kids being on our app, we understand those interests and immediately let them know that they can work for their favorite brand. Now the second thing is, this is very, very important. Most of the kids that we work with, if you actually ask them, what are they thinking about? They're thinking about how do they provide for their families. So oftentimes, if they've immigrated anywhere, it's because their families want them to have a quality education to do something better. Their families have gone through really hard times to even do that immigration process. And so as soon as you tell a student that I can provide you with a pathway, not just going to college and hoping it'll work out, but you know every day what you're learning in math and how it aligns to your future, it lowers anxiety and actually motivates them to want to learn, because right now we have a problem with the lack of motivation, engagement, and persistence in academia because they don't understand how it aligns to the careers of their dreams.
If there's time for one more, can you paint us a picture of the technology, of like how, because it sounds like you have a remarkable engine. So if a kid is interested in something, where does the learning come in that is video game?
So I'll talk about where it is today, and I'll talk about where it'll get to over the next 3 years with our roadmap. So we're partnered with the largest online public school in the United States. They have amazing curriculum writers that are spending all of their time developing the world's best curriculum. What they lack is engagement. It looks older than MySpace, even though there's actually learning content behind it. So instead, in our platform, students get into our world and they customize their avatar. You can make an avatar that looks like every single one of us in this audience. Then you get into a world where you're interacting with other characters. And these characters could be like somebody that has a sense of humor, they're doing all sorts of fun things. And they push the kids and say, here's why you need to go learn this thing. And then the student starts engaging with the content that the provider has made. Over time, our AI will analyze what that content that they're supposed to learn is, and will say, okay, if a kid is supposed to learn addition, can we teach them that by flipping hamburgers? And how can we use this 3D world to teach them that instead of them learning through MySpace?
Okay, so that's future. Okay, thank you.
Great job. Give her a round of applause. Okay, so we're almost done.